Good morning everyone, I'm T. Dube and I think you must have understood that in today's class we are going to begin a new poem on Jennifer's Tigers written by Adrienne Rich. And again, as a habit, before I move on along with the discussion, I would like to tell you how this particular lecture has been organized and how we will move along with our discussion. So first of all, we will be talking about the title of this poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, what it suggests, what it hints at, or what the poet intends to convey through this title. Followed by something about Adrienne Rich. I think you have already studied about her in Standard 10. If you remember the poem, The Trees, that was written by her. After a brief discussion of the poet, we will be talking about the central idea of this particular poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, followed by line explanation of this particular work. After that, we will discuss what poetic devices have been applied in this work, and finally, you will be given a summary so that you can have complete picture of this poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. Now, so after I have told you how this lecture has been organized and how we are going to carry on our discussion, let me ask you one thing. Have you ever thought about the painting or any artwork and about its creator, about its composer? So whenever a painter paints something, for example, if you talk about Mona Lisa, so when the painter would be composing that painting, there must be some mind, there must be some intention working behind that. So a painter's work, an artist's work, is an expression of his or her thoughts, ideas, feelings, emotions that come out through that work, or you can say through that piece. Sometimes it so happens that the painting, the artwork, expresses what that person or individual in reality is. In other words, you can say the feelings, emotions expressed through the artwork and the actual life that a person lives can be different. This particular work, Adrienne Rich's poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, talks about such kind of dual personality. That means, in reality, the person is someone else, something else. Her feelings, emotions are something else. But the feelings and emotions expressed through the painting are different. Let us see what is there in Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. Now, after we have discussed what the title of the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers suggests, let us understand or let us know something about the poet, Adrienne Rich. Though I think that you must have read about her in Standard 10 also. But yet, let us revise or let us, fresh that memory. Look at the first paragraph. Adrienne Rich, born in the year 1929 and died in the year 2012, was a famous American writer, poet. She was known for her powerful poetry, essays, and feminist ideas. This phrase is very, very important. She was inclined to feminist, means you can say she was a staunch supporter of women, females' rights. Her writing, which covered a wide range of topics like gender, identity, politics, and fairness, was admired for its beauty and its ability to make people think about important issues. So from this discussion, you can understand how powerful voice she was. Adrienne Rich started as a poet and won Yale Younger Poets Award for her first collection, which was A Change of World in the year 1951. At first, her poetry was traditional, but as time went on, she became more creative and focused on political and social issues. She wrote poetry about women's lives. If you remember standard 10 poem, Trees, the Trees. So she has compared the women to the trees that are moving out of their houses. Being lesbian also, fighting for fairness and how personal and political things can connect. She thought that poetry could make a difference in the world and used her writing to talk about important problems. So, from this personal thinking also you can understand that as a writer, as a poet, what she thought about the poetry as a medium, as a way of expressing her feelings, emotions, or talking about the problems of the world. Moving on to the last paragraph of this introductory part. Adrienne Rich changed the way we think about gender, identity, and language. Her work inspired many writers and scholars to explore these important topics. Her writing is still studied and celebrated today, and it has had a big impact on both literature and feminism. She challenged the norms of society and made a lasting mark with her words, which continue to speak to people all over the world. So now, the first line reminds you that Adrienne Rich's words make us think about gender, identity, and her language. So if you remember her previous work that you have already studied in Standard 10, the Trees, how she is in favor of women going out of their four walls and making their names or fighting for their rights on their own. On similar theme, but with different feelings, is the present poem also, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, in which she is expressing a woman's feelings through her art and how traditions, social norms, marriage, and all these kind of family bondages have shackled a woman's feet and keep her suppressed. So after we have read something, learned something about her, it is time to understand the theme of the present work. Please look and read it carefully. I give a 10-15 seconds silence so that I can have some more energy, and you read it before I begin explanation. Now, let me begin. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrienne Rich is a meaningful poem about how women can feel trapped in marriage and society. Keep this phrase in mind. How women can feel trapped in marriage and society. Means when we talk about women, the norms, family's responsibilities become a trap for her. It also shows how art can be a way for them to express themselves and find freedom. There is a suggestion that a woman can express her feelings, she can express her emotions through art. She can seek freedom, independence through art. So that is another point that she is touching on. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is a poem about a woman named Aunt Jennifer. She is symbolic of ailing women who feels stuck in her unhappy marriage. She uses her art, a tapestry with tigers, to show the strength she wishes she had. So here, as I was talking earlier, that artwork can be a medium of expression. So here in this case, Aunt Jennifer, who feels unhappy because of her marriage, uses a tapestry with tigers. Means she makes tiger on a panel, you can say, and creates all the qualities that she wants to have. She wants to be free. She shows her freedom through the tigers. She wants to go out. She wants to become fearless. She makes the tiger fearless. So this is what she is trying to show through her art. Look at the last two lines of the second paragraph. The tigers in her art are confident and fearless, unlike Aunt Jennifer. Look at the last line. Her marriage takes a toll on her. That means her marriage affects her negatively. It becomes a bondage. It becomes a responsibility. It becomes a series of chains on her freedom. And even her hands struggle to create her art. Moving on to the last paragraph. The poem talks about how Aunt Jennifer's art will live on even after she dies, symbolizing her courage. Overall, it's a sad story about how women can feel trapped in a world controlled by men. But art can be a way for them to express themselves and find strength. So, she is talking about how men-dominated society is preventing women from going out, from enjoying their independence, their freedom, from becoming fearless. So, she has been trapped by marriage and patriarchy. Patriarchy means dominance of male or male figures in a family, you can say. Now, after you have, I think you must have understood what the topic is and what the poem is going to talk about. So, it's not a very long poem, it's a 3 stanzas poem, and let us understand it one by one easily. Now, let's begin the explanation of the first stanza. Look at the screen and read them very carefully. What does it read? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. Let us make a mental picture that this woman is Aunt Jennifer and she is making, in simple language, she is making tigers on a motif. A motif is a piece of cloth taken on a circle band, you can say, and she is doing needlework, Aunt Jennifer. And she is creating tigers. And these tigers are prancing, jumping, you can say. Now look at these selection of words. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. So these tigers that she is making are bright, vibrant, topaz denizens. Topaz is actually a type of bright precious stones, you can say. Denizens of a world of green. So these tigers are citizens of a green world, that means forest. Now what quality they possess? Look at the third line. They do not fear. In other words, they are fearless. The men under the tree. So these tigers aren't afraid of the men who are sitting under the tree. And when they are walking, they pace in a sleek chivalric certainty. They are confident. They are independent. They are fearless when they are walking. Now, the explanation is given here also. So you read. In this stanza, the tigers symbolize Aunt Jennifer's suppressed desires and aspirations. The tiger's graceful prancing and vibrant, fearless presence on the screen represent Aunt Jennifer's longing for freedom. Longing means desire, wish, for freedom and confidence in a world she might not have in her own life. The phrase sleek chivalric certainty emphasizes their self-assured nature. The tigers are self-assured, confident, in a stark contrast to Aunt Jennifer's likely constrained existence. So here there are two different types of you can say feelings. Tigers are fearless, confident, self-assured, chivalric, but on the other hand side, opposed to their character is Aunt Jennifer's character. She is fearful, she does not have confidence, and she lives in a confined place, you can say. Look at the last line. Through this imagery, the stanza explores themes of artistic expression, independence, and the yearning for a more empowered and fearless identity. Last phrase is very important. So, through this stanza, the poet expresses themes of artistic expression, means art can be used as a way of expressing, showing independence, and expressing the desire for a more empowered and fearless identity. Moving on to the second stanza. Read it carefully and try to connect with the previous one. Have a look and let us read carefully. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Each phrase is symbolic and very, very deeply meaningful. So Aunt Jennifer's fingers. So when Aunt Jennifer is, using ivory needles, her fingers are trembling. So you can see my fingers. So it symbolizes her fear. Through the wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull, the massive weight. So she is putting on a wedding ring that is symbolic of her marriage. So the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon, this is again, sits heavily upon is symbolic of bondage, you can say, trapping, you can say, or you can say chains. So it symbolizes her bondage or curtailment of her freedom and Jennifer's hand. The explanation is written, you can write it down. In this stanza, Aunt Jennifer's struggle with her marital bonds is depicted, as I have already told you. Her fingers are trembling, fluttering means trembling, as she works on her wool, symbolizing her anxiety and lack of independence. The ivory needle hard to pull signifies the difficulty of breaking free from her domestic duties and societal expectations. So this line is very, very important. The massive weight of her husband's wedding ring emphasizes the suffocating nature of her marriage, that she has a bad marriage, she is suffocating, she is not having any freedom, she is afraid of her husband. In other words, you can say, weighing heavily on her hand and highlighting the theme of female subjugation. The word subjugate means controlled. So it shows women's control, man's control on women and the desire for liberation. So the women wants to be liberated from man's control. The last stanza of this poem. This is talking about what will be the contrast after she is no more, after she is died, after she is dead. Let us read. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by, and the tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So in this stanza, we come to know how people will remember or what legacy she will leave behind after her death. So in this stanza, the poet reflects on Aunt Jennifer's life and her enduring legacy, enduring long-lasting legacy. What will she leave after her death? Upon Aunt Jennifer's death, her hands, which had trembled under the weight of her marital burdens, will finally find rest. Fine? So first thing will happen that her fluttering fingers, her trembling fingers will find rest. She will have no fear. However, they will still bear the marks of the challenges and subjugation she endured. But she will die a suppressed women, or trapped women. But what about the tigers? The tigers in her artwork, symbolizing her unfulfilled desires for independence, will continue to prance, jump, proudly and fearlessly. So she will live through her tigers who would be fearless, who would be proud, and this suggests that even in death, Aunt Jennifer's spirit and aspirations will live on, going beyond the limitations she had in her life. So she will be living through her tigers, her art that she has created. So this is line by line, stanza by stanza explanation of the poem. I do believe that you must have understood, and it's time to go for the poetic devices, or you can say discussion of the poetic devices in this poem. So here is a PDF of this chapter in front of you, and let us see what poetic devices have been used in this particular work by Adrienne Rich. So have a look. I have already marked the poetic devices that have been used in this poem. So if you look at the title, means Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, the word tigers has been compared here. So Aunt Jennifer's actually refer to, you can say, suppressed desire or aspiration of Aunt Jennifer. So there is a use of metaphor in this word tigers. Then you look at these two lines. They do not fear the man beneath the tree. They praise in slick chivalric certainty. So the word they is beginning the two consecutive lines. So when a word is repeated at the beginning of two lines or sentences, it is called anaphora. So here it is use of anaphora. Now you look at this one. Aunt Jennifer's tigers, Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Now the tigers are prancing, proud and unafraid. So here you see Aunt Jennifer's tigers are prancing, proud. This is the last part actually. Here it is. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So here there is alliteration. Proper sound has been repeated. So there is, I have already written here, you can write down, prancing and proud, paw sound. Also, the tigers are described as prancing, proud and unafraid, as if they possess human qualities and emotions. So proud is not a quality of a wild beast, tigers. So in this way, this word proud makes, or you can say attributes human qualities to the tigers. Hence there is use of personification also. So these are the poetic devices used in Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, and now it is time to have a brief summary. Hope by now you must have understood, but a summary gives you the complete picture of all the work together. So let us move on to the summary part. So this is the summary in front of you. I do not think it should take much time for you in understanding, because we have discussed almost everything, And by now, you must have developed some good understanding of this poem. Have a look on the summary part. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers describes Aunt Jennifer, a woman. So here you should not understand that Aunt Jennifer is a particular or a single woman. She is symbolic of all such women who feel trapped and unhappy because of their marriage. So the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers describes Aunt Jennifer, a woman who expresses her inner strength and desires through her art. In her artwork, she creates powerful and fearless tigers that symbolize her yearning for freedom and confidence. This line must be used by you in your answer. This line must be used by you in your answer. These tigers contrast with Aunt Jennifer's own life. So when we make a contrast, we make difference between the qualities of the two. The qualities that the tigers possess and the qualities that Aunt Jennifer possesses. We find difference between the two. So these tigers contrast with Aunt Jennifer's own life, where she feels oppressed and burdened. So on the one hand side, Aunt Jennifer feels oppressed and burdened, but because of the marriage symbolized by her heavy wedding ring, but the tigers are fearless, chivalric. The poem suggests that even Aunt Jennifer passes away, even after she passes away, her art will continue to reflect her spirit and strength she couldn't fully embrace in her lifetime. Last two lines. The poem talks about how women can feel controlled by men. Controlled by men is called patriarchy, and how art can be a way for them to feel free and strong when they feel stuck in tough situations like marriage. So I do believe that you must have understood the entire poem by now, and if you want to score 100% marks in your final examination, your board examination that is going to be beginning from February, March, the only solution to that problem is practicing on questions, watching these video lectures. So these video lectures will help you a lot in improving your English in the way you use it. If you listen this lecture carefully, it will become your habit, and so far as the content provided in these lectures is concerned, they will make you feel confident, chivalric, and unafraid of your coming examination. So hope you must have enjoyed my explanation. So it's all about this particular work.